Thank you.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay. Could we have roll call, Sue?
Okay, Trish,
Present.
Lynette,
Here.
Sandra. Yes, you're here. Larry,
Present.
Yael,
Yes.
Tim,
Yeah, here.
Jim Stanfield.
Yeah.
Yay. Jan,
Yes.
Deborah.
Present.
Okay, and I believe James is not here tonight.
Nope. James has an excused absence.
Okay.
Under chairman announcements, I received a notice from Rachel from Traffic Operations Public Works Department, County of San Luis Obispo, and they are working on receiving a grant to paint all of the cabinets that house the electrical and communications equipment, and that will be 8 traffic signals in Los Osos, which are LOVR at 9th and 10th, combined cabinet, LVR at Doris, LOVR at Palisades, LOVR at South Bay Boulevard, South Bay at El Moro, South Bay at Napomo, and South Bay at Santa Isabel. And the grant application is due February 1st, and they're hoping that they will be awarded the grant, and that will be the end of 22. And then they will take different artists to paint the boxes in 2023. So that's the only announcement I have tonight. And do we have any council member announcements?
I don't know, maybe I'll announce what I sent you, the email that I will be stepping down from my servicing on Locac, and I've been here for 5 years and gladly worked hard, as many of you have. And I asked for a couple of things. I asked that the Trees and Landscape Committee will be manned so that it will continue working. And I spoke with James, and he agreed to be on the committee. However, at that time, I did not mention yet that I'm leaving. I wasn't sure when I'm going to leave. I decided to leave now so that people can run for the seat by March. Will announce their candidacy. So I thought that would be a good time. So I hope that James will still be able to join the committee because he'll have to chair it also. The other thing is that I ask that I'll remain as a public member of both land use and trees and landscape.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Yael. You have been great on this committee. We're going to miss you.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Any other council member announcements? Okay, let's go to county and local agency reports. Do we have Sheriff Sergeant Langston here tonight? Raise your hand if possible. I don't see you.
I don't see him on there.
But I do see Captain Klingenberg. How about?
I just asked him to unmute.
Thank you.
So I'm up. Well, good evening, everyone.
Hi.
Thank you again for your time and your service on the board. For the month of January in the Los Osos, greater Los Osos area, we made 2 just regular, I call them regular, they're DUI arrests. And when I say regular, I just mean no collision was involved in those. But we made 2 DUI arrests in Los Osos, and we had 9 collisions around the area. 3 of those collisions did result in a DUI arrest, and I can go over just superficially where those were located and the type of injuries. When we had one at 9th Street and LOVR, that was a 2-vehicle non-injury collision where we ended up arresting the driver who was at fault in that collision. And then we had a second DUI collision at Doris and Mar Vista. That was a solo occupied vehicle, but that occupied vehicle struck a parked vehicle, and we arrested the driver in that one as well. And then a third collision involving a DUI driver at LOVR east of Turry Road. A two-vehicle collision where we had some minor injuries involved, but that was to the driver of the vehicle that we arrested for DUI. Then we had 6 collisions, none of which were any major injuries. Any of the injuries that we had in these collisions, I think we only had 1 or 2 that involved some minor injuries. One was at Bay Oaks in South Bay. Solo vehicle struck a curb there. We had a 2-vehicle collision at Los Osos Valley Road in the vicinity of Foothill Boulevard. That was a rear end collision. Minor injuries there. I apologize. Minor injuries basically consisting of a complaint of pain there. We had a minor injury collision involving a bicyclist and a car at Paso Robles and 13th Street. The injuries suffered were to the bicyclist, consisting of abrasions there. A non-injury collision at Los Osos Valley Road and Valle Vista Place. Rear end collision, one vehicle rear-ended the other. Also a non-injury collision and second non-injury collision at Los Osos Valley Road in the vicinity of Valle Vista Place, which again was a rear end collision, non-injury there. And our last one was a non-injury collision in the parking lot at Ralph's. Looks like we had some type of unsafe turning movement in the parking lot there. So that's a quick summary of the month of December. And I I don't know if anyone's noticed, we've set up the speed trailer on Los Osos Valley Road as you come into town, on the westbound side, right at the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit. We've set up the speed trailer there, and would consider any other locations. If I had any suggestions about where you might like to have that set up in the area of Los Osos, we can talk about that, as long as we have some reasonable spots where we can set that up. So with that, I appreciate your time and welcome for any questions that you might have.
Does the council have any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Deborah?
So the DUI collisions, were these alcohol related or drug related?
I'm pretty sure they were all alcohol. Yep, all 3 of them were alcohol.
Okay, and so now I'm going to ask you an uneducated question because I wouldn't know if it makes a difference. Are these local people or are these out of the area people who are coming? And
Sure.
I mean, we are talking about December, so it's probably not a normal month to really ask this question, but just out of curiosity, I'm wondering.
Yeah, sure. Let me take just a quick glance here. So of the 5, 4 of them. Four of them were Los Osos residents. 1 was a San Luis Obispo resident.
Okay, so mainly local. Okay, thank you very
Sure.
much.
Mhm.
Any other questions from the council? All right.
Somebody raised their hand here.
Yep. Dave or Bev?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
It's Dave Bolus. I'm just wondering if the collisions, the rear endings that were on Los Osos Valley Road at Valle Vista, I wondered, is that coming down the hill from Montaña de Oro?
Let me get you a direction of travel on those. One was westbound on Los Osos Valley Road. They were both westbound on Los Osos Valley Road.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, they
And-
do tend to go quite quickly in the morning going into the park. I've had to jump out of the way with my dogs right there.
Yeah.
And the other question I had is, or suggestion is, I think that the speed trailer right next to Ralph's would be a great idea because people go really fast there. And on Traffic and Circulation Committee within the last, well, when we last were meeting a couple of years ago, we talked about why couldn't that be made a commercial zone and lowered to 25. And apparently there's not enough businesses there because of the way businesses are counted. So I would suggest they're right in front of Ralph's.
Okay. Okay, absolutely. We can look at that and make sure we have a good location where we can place it there. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other raised hands from the community? No? Well, Captain Klingenberg, thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here tonight.
No problem. Again, I appreciate your time. Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you. All right, county staff report, Carrie Brown. See who finds her first.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Carrie.
Hi. I do have some items to report tonight. The Coastal Commission will be reviewing the vacation rental ordinance for Los Osos and the ADU ordinance for the coastal zone on February 11th. So it's coming up. On the vacation rental ordinance, they are recommending 2 modifications. The first one is that the 500-foot buffer only apply to vacation rentals. So it wouldn't apply to like homestays or hotels, bed and breakfast, but it would apply to vacation rentals. So the 500-foot buffer would be just between vacation rentals. The other modification that they are recommending is that all of the vacation rentals have a requirement for 1 water conservation sign in all bathrooms and the kitchen to encourage water conservation in the community. So those are the 2 modifications for the vacation rental ordinance. And then for the ADU ordinance, they have more suggested modifications recommended. But I think of interest to this community is they are recommending a prohibition of ADUs in Los Osos and within the groundwater basin. So, as well as Cambria, but I know you guys are more interested in Los Osos. So, so I'm sure that's good news for everyone to hear, that both items are scheduled for February 11th, as I said, and everyone can participate, you know, through, I think it's through Zoom. So the other thing, I just have one other thing, and that was on today's agenda, I noticed that there are quite a few land use permits, and some of them, the numbers aren't correct. And I think they're just some typos. So when those items come up, maybe I'll just add in the chat the correct permit number.
Thank you.
That's something that we can.
Carrie, I have 26, I got wrong. It needs the C, and I had 2020, the 227 instead of 21, and there was no C. Is there another mistake?
Let's see, I highlighted them. Let's see, the 26, yeah. The 2 on consent just didn't have like the 2021 in the beginning.
Oh, geez, you're right.
Sorry, we changed the way we have our permits in the middle of 2021. So starting in July, we started with the C and the N's for coastal appealable and non-coastal appealable. So got a little confusing. Starting for this year, all of our new permits will be 2022, and they'll all have either the C or an N most of the projects that you guys see will have the C before it, but every once in a while you also may see an NDRC or SUV.
So the C means coastal appealable. Either they live in the coastal or the houses in the coastal appealable zone, or it's something like a vacation rental, which commands a coastal appealable designation. Is that correct?
Okay. Are there any, do you have anything else, Carrie?
That's all I have. Thanks.
Okay, any questions for Carrie from the committee? Okay, I don't see any hands up. Any questions for Carrie from the public? I see Patrick.
Thank you.
Ding, ding, ding.
Carrie, would you give us some examples of what kind of projects would not be appealable?
Like if somebody was proposing, if the project was located not in the coastal appealable zone, and they requested a variance for maybe a setback, they wanted to place their addition in the side setback or the rear setback or the front setback. And so the location of the project is not appealable. And so they're just requesting a variance. So that wouldn't be coastal appealable.
Okay. Is there anything in the coastal zone itself that isn't appealable?
What do you
Anything
mean?
let's say anything in Los Osos or Baywood Park. I am assuming all of Los Osos and Baywood are in the coastal zone. Is there anything in that zone that would not be appealable?
Yeah, there's a wide area within the Baywood Los Osos area that's not appealable. It's kind of hard to describe because it's part of it is the first public road and the ocean or the bay. So, you know, everything north of Santa Isabel is coastal appealable. And then as you get into Baywood, as you're going west, there are lots of other things that can make you coastal appealable. So you could be, you know, within 100 feet of a mapped coastal stream. There could be a positive archaeological site. So it's not just location, but the way most of Baywood is not in the coastal appealable zone, the line kind of then goes into Baywood. All of the Baywood commercial area, because it's a coastal special community, is considered coastal appealable. And then the parts of Cuesta by the Sea, it's really depending on the road and how it goes through. All of Sunset Terrace is coastal appealable, Monarch Grove, Cabrillo Estates. And then in the Highland area, it's kind of a mix of some of it's coastal appealable and some of it's not.
Thank you.
Do you guys have a map of coastal appealable that we could look at? I tried looking it up and I couldn't find anything.
We do have a map. They're not digitized in our GIS layer, which we have requested that. They're from our when our LCP was certified, so they're kind of hard to read, but I can share that with you.
Thank you. Oh, kind of hard to read. Oh boy. Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the committee or from the community? Lindy? Okay. Okay, you're being asked to unmute.
Hey, good evening, Carrie. I wanted to ask, I last night tried to look up a couple of projects on Permit View, and it seems to have absolutely nothing working anymore. In most cases, I had the address that I could put in, which is supposed to be part of how you are able to look up what permits are pending and passed. The one that I did get had erased all the information on previous permits. In other words, it looks like it's less and less information is being made available active permits and knowing the history. Is there something going on that could be improved?
I know, we had an update to our tracking system, and it did change some of the ways to search things. So we're working through and trying to kind of streamline that for the public. I don't think it's quite done yet, but I am working with IT to try to create like a report maybe that we could provide for you guys monthly that shows all of the permits.
That would be wonderful.
Could you also, we've asked in the past, any of the ministerial? I know that there's a massive mix of things, but we're very concerned about the tree permits, and they are only showing up in the ministerial. So, and that's hard to get to, even harder.
That was the request that I got. It was tree removals, new residents, additions.
Okay. That would be marvelous.
Yeah, and yeah, it would include the ministerial permits.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Carrie? Carrie, thank you so much. I really appreciate being here tonight.
Sure.
All right, next up, Supervisor Bruce Gibson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's a pleasure to be back with you this evening. It seems like it's been essentially forever since I've gathered with you, and I realize it's been months at this point. Carrie handled the one really Los Osos specific item that we, the actions before the Coastal Commission, and certainly happy to answer any questions about those. Beyond that, you're probably aware of the overall countywide activities like the redrawing of supervisorial districts, which have subsequently been challenged in court. Remains to be seen what the ultimate disposition of that question is. We did take action day before yesterday to move the county library system out of the black gold system, and that created a certain amount of heartburn with certain individuals until the library director explained the overall details that in the end, the breadth of material accessible to county library patrons remains the same. We end up saving some money, and that money can be used to customize our local collections to better fit the interests and the needs of our local library patrons. Board of Supervisors has been meeting virtually this past Tuesday, and we are scheduled to do so again next Tuesday. And that is in deference to the COVID surge, the Omicron surge, which is still not abating in this county. A very significant rise in numbers over recent weeks, and that really hasn't resolved itself. And beyond that, it's the normal selection of issues in front of the board: homelessness, housing, water, infrastructure. We did there's one bright spot that I really enjoyed at the meeting before last. We did designate some American Rescue Plan funds, or ARPA funding, COVID relief funds. And the one that I am particularly fond of is that we managed to get board approval to direct $3 million to improve childcare in this county. That's a huge issue for working families with children. It's a matter of equity. It's a matter of economic development. Primarily, it's a matter of good early childhood experiences for children. And so we managed also to get that put forward with a minimum amount of constraints. We're going to let those who are expert in that bring forward some proposals. I'm hoping for some really creative work. As the chair of the first 5 commission over the recent years, that's been a really high priority for our commission and for me personally. And so I'm hopeful that we're going to see some movement there. So beyond that, happy to answer questions. And again, pleased to be with you.
Thank you. Jim, I see your hand up.
Yeah, Bruce, any recent developments on the unhoused communities?
Well, we have made hires since the last time I was with you. We have a couple of individuals now in positions to handle homeless services. I came back from our Christmas break all fired up and have had some face-to-face conversations with our county administrative officer, Mr. Horton, asking, when are we going to see some reports on creating more safe parking, where we're going to see some expansion of our transitional housing, all the things that we know across the spectrum of need in order to deal with the homeless problem. And I'm told that report on that is coming later this month or in the first part of March. And I'll look forward very much to seeing where that is. It's really a matter of galvanizing some political will to move these issues forward. There's a lot of talk out there. The thing is, a lot of talk. And it's easy to say, well, we should do this and we should do that. But in the end, getting stuff done is really a matter of actually, making some hard decisions, quite frankly, and choosing to prioritize homeless services as a means. I think we're headed in the right direction. We have signed a contract with Capslow, which is one of our primary homeless services provider, to take over the management of Kansas Avenue. And that I think integrates that effort into a wider effort in homeless services. They also, are of a scale where now if we expand safe parking, I think it's easier for Capslow to expand its services to manage all those safe parking, and they can provide transition to supportive housing or whatever the individual needs. So, the progress on this is not nearly as fast as we would want it to be. The commitment is not nearly what it should be. We do have, again, a chunk of federal dollars that we need to spend, and we need to prioritize this, and I'll keep pushing on it. But seeing it happen really requires the agreement of a bunch of decision makers. And I'll just be honest, I haven't seen any great fire among a majority of the Board of Supervisors to see that happen. So.
Okay, next question.
Appreciate your efforts, Bruce.
Sure, Jim.
Thank you, Jim. Next question is Deborah Howe.
Yes, hi, thank you. I have a question about the new districting map. Supervisor Gibson, should this map be in force, who would be representing Los Osos on the Board of Supervisors?
That's a really good question. So the way I look at it, and there are a number of different ways of looking at it. The way I look at it is until the end of 2022, I am still the second, I am the second district supervisor, and I represent the community of Los Osos. So for the rest of this year, you're sort of stuck with me, for better or worse. Once we conduct the 2022 elections, if we conduct them according to the adopted map, Los Osos ends up being what I call an orphaned community. And the question of exactly who you would turn to would be one to be answered. In the new adopted map, you're actually in the 5th district. Supervisor Arnold is the 5th district supervisor and has a term that runs to the end of 2024. The new 5th district does not overlap the current 5th district at all. Supervisor Arnold lives 25 miles from the nearest border of the new 5th district. so the question as to whether she would feel that she represents the new 5th district for those 2 years or not, I don't know, because nobody in the new 5th district will have voted for her. That business of connection really is a matter of, you know, what's the voting population that elected that supervisor. You know, that said, once you're elected supervisor, in terms of making decisions, you have 1 of 5 votes of the body as a whole to administer the entirety of the county unincorporated areas and the county programs that affect the county as a whole. So, you know, it's more a matter of tradition and norms that says, well, this supervisor is specifically represented, but there's nothing, there's no specific power that's granted. I am not the crown prince of the 2nd district. You know, I don't have, much as I'd like to have, unilateral authority to govern in a benevolent fashion, of course. You know, there's nothing specific there. So it's a fair question. But if the 22 elections are held on the adopted map, the 2nd district supervisor has a whole new district, 2/3 of the population of which is new to that 2nd district. And that supervisor will have responsibilities in the inland areas of the county, whoever that may be, hopefully me, but that's another story. Atascadero, San Miguel, the areas around Lake Nacimiento and the West Side Line areas. So, you know, it remains to be seen what attention Los Osos gets. And that's actually one of the critiques that I lodged against the map that ended up getting adopted.
I take your point, Supervisor Gibson, that all supervisors must take into consideration these unincorporated areas. But my concern is that the supervisor, you in this case, have a seat at the Basin Management Committee and represent Los Osos at that very critical committee that adjudicates the Los Osos basin. And so if you're not that person, then who would be that person? And if that person were to be a staff level person, then I would seriously question whether that person, as qualified as they may or may not be, would have the same weight, would carry the same ability to advocate for the Los Osos Basin. And so I have a serious concern about this, and I want to bring this up to Locac because there is a lawsuit, there is a hearing scheduled for February 10th, and I question whether or not we should perhaps write a letter and share our concern about the fact that we could possibly be orphaned without representation, direct representation on the Board of Supervisors. And we have some serious issues that require some real representation that can't just be spread out over the Board of Supervisors generally, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a fair, that's exactly that is exactly the dilemma of the orphaned community. And your points.
And we would be orphaned for 2 years, is that correct?
That would be correct.
For 2 years, we would have no person. And I don't know if you've thought about who would be on the Basin Management Committee, but who actually would take that place for the county?
It's really, it's unknown at this point. Basically, I've been appointed, you know, so first of all, the representatives to the Basin Management Committee are selected by the Board of Supervisors as a whole. And, you know, the obvious choice is the 2nd district supervisor who's been dealing with Los Osos for, you know, for quite a while. The board could put any individual into that spot. You know, it's simply a matter of 3 votes to make it happen. And, you know, the concerns you raise are legitimate. They have been voiced. You know, I voiced that very concern, not specifically the Basin Management Committee, but the orphaning committee. I voiced that in the discussion of the map that got adopted. That got no play whatsoever. You know, I know that the group that has brought the lawsuit is aware of it. That's the SLO County Citizens for Good Governance. And, you know, perhaps they would be interested in hearing specifically from Los Osos on that, on your concerns there.
Well, we represent Los Osos. That's the purpose of our committee. And so I just want to put that out for discussion, whether or not it would be advisable for us to perhaps write a letter to the court with our concerns that we need to have representation that specifically addresses our unique needs, which are the needs of the Los Osos Basin. It's not something that you're just going to walk into without some background.
So no, it's a fair question. You know, of course, the court doesn't operate like the Board of Supervisors, and a letter of public comment coming to the court, you know, is not officially part of the proceedings at that point. But again, you know, if you wanted to contact the concerned citizens or the county citizens for good governance, they may have some insight into how best to make those concerns known.
Well, I leave this up to the, you know, to Locac to perhaps think about this and have a discussion amongst ourselves, whether or not that's something we would want to do. I just wanted to bring it up here in this meeting so that we're all aware of that possibility that we would lose that direct connection with the Board of Supervisors.
Thank you very much. And I think we have time at the very end to discuss that. Are there any other committee members who have questions for Bruce? Okay, I see Lindy.
Thank you. I think I just figured out how to put my hand up finally.
Yay.
And thank you, Deborah, for that discussion, and Bruce, because it is very concerning. My questions for you, Bruce, are one, with CapSLO getting paid to come over and manage Kansas, are they going to will the county be putting a building of some kind? The reason that services do not work is there is no place to meet the residents, and it is overcrowded. There are problems. I know that this Joe guy is doing his best, but it's pretty. So the question of overcrowding, will we be moving over to the animal services property and buildings where we actually have some offices? Do you anticipate that as a possibility? A small question. I have 3 questions. Do you want one at a time, or?
Go ahead and give them all of them. I'll write them down.
Okay. The second one was, any idea how our waste management, now that the county decided to take it over, any idea what to expect out of services that we used to have no problem with and were affordable? I'm concerned that they won't be as good, and they will go up. And lastly, I've attended the last 2 Board of Supervisors meetings. The one on the 11th, I could not access for public comment. I thought maybe it was me, but the one that we just had this last Tuesday, there is no option to do public comment. So you had 2 commenters that managed to get through. I called your the Board of Supervisor administrator and got something emailed over to me to try to get into the meeting. I just trying to do public comment. I tried to do the first set of it. And anyway, I got bad information. I put the numbers in 3 times and to do that connection. So you basically talked about getting rid of the black gold system. I wanted to know more about it. I had not heard about it. There's no presentations given, so the community has no information. It's nice that Mr. Chris sent us, you know, something I found on Nextdoor, but that didn't really solve understanding, and we didn't have a community discussion. the El Chorro Park just gave a contract to put a private campground in there. We couldn't put the homeless there, but we can go ahead and invite outsider concessions. So I wanted to ask more about that, but again, no presentation. And the Napomo Skate Park is over budget by an extra $1.5 million or so. And there was discussion about if it can't get paid by grants, it's going to come out of our $400,000, the budget that the county has for parks. And we already have problems with our park being underfunded and not cared for. These are discussions that I see disappearing from these supervisor meetings, and I'm really concerned. I will be writing more to the whole board to propose that this gets straightened out, but that was not fun. And you got no public comment, and which made your meeting be an hour shorter. That's all.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Lindy.
Madam Chair, I can respond quickly on the matter. The last one, in terms of getting access to public comment, I'll have Blake check with the clerk of the board to make sure that we have a clear statement. There's a pretty simple dial-in number that gets one into the meeting where public comment can be registered. There is a bit of a delay, 20 or 30-second delay if you're watching on channel 21 or streaming through the county website, as opposed to being hooked into the Zoom meeting. The video and audio you're getting is considerably delayed, and we tried to just leave some time there to make sure that folks are doing it. But if you're actually having trouble getting connected, we can have Blake check with the clerk and make sure that as we go into next time. On the matter of the various issues that you're concerned about, let me only comment about one on the Napomo Skate Park. We advanced $1.5 million loan to get this project under construction because it was the highest priority project in the county park system. That loan, we hope, will not have to be $1.5 million because there's at least that much in grants that are being applied for, and we should hear in a few months as to whether we're successful with that. If for some reason there still is if there were not grants to cover the entirety, that the repayment would actually be through public facilities fees and not the operating budget of the park system. Those public facilities fees are assessed to new development as an impact for increased population having an impact on our parks. So whereas that's not ideal by any means, because those fees could be used anywhere in the county to do a number of really good things, it was the considered opinion that would work well. On the IWMA, yep, that again, something that I vigorously opposed, but in pulling out of the IWMA, we lose economy of scale. We end up having to duplicate efforts. It's going to cost another $1 million a year or something like that for the county to administer its own solid waste instead of going through IWMA. There will be increases to trash hauling rates in addition to that to fund the new AB 1383, which is to get organic materials out of our landfills as a greenhouse gas reduction strategy. So yes, the cost of hauling, the cost of trash disposal is going to go up. Some of that's unavoidable. Some of it was completely avoidable, but the decision was to not do that. And then as per Kansas Avenue, Blake informs me that there indeed is a trailer that's going to be able to be used as an office space. I'm not sure the details of that, but that there will be some provision for indoor space for service provision. So again, we'll sort of see how that evolves.
Thank you very much. We have Yael.
Since you brought up the Kansas side, I just wanted to voice another concern regarding the contract with Capslo. The site has been open now 5 months approximately. There has not been any services provided, and I always said that services do not exist and they cannot materialize with or without a trailer. Trailer is not the issue. And the one service that every single person in the Kansas site needs is housing. And you, Bruce, you said that that was a pathway for housing. And Capslo is not a service provider of housing. So why would Capslo get a contract to take care of 100 people that they cannot provide housing to? And we know that even services without housing do not work. And we don't have services because they haven't been provided in 5 months. Not even a single person there has been provided with any service. And I know because I'm there all the time. But I would like to see housing, Bruce, because that's what they need. And the housing I promote, as you know, is the tiny house villages. So that's all I have to say. I've been saying it a million times. Thank you.
Thank you, yeah.
Mhm.
Do you have a response to Supervisor Gibson?
Well, most of that was commentary, and I disagree with Yael's characterization. Capslo is an organization that does work with homeless people to connect them with housing services, and they'll continue to do that. So I mean, Yael's is welcome to her opinion on that. I just don't happen to agree with it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anyone from the community that would like to, that has a question for Supervisor Gibson? Chris. Okay. You've been asked to unmute.
Thank you. Bruce, I had a quick question on the lawsuit. If you have any insight, can this be drawn out past the 22 election, or do you think it might be on the fast track? And I realize you might not know, but I was kind of wondering.
Yeah, the short answer is I don't know. This is an interesting situation. Basically the suit that was filed was called a writ of mandamus, which was a request to the court to take an action to compel the Board of Supervisors to do something, or in this particular case, not do something, to overturn its adoption of that map. In normal circumstances, that can be a complicated process. When you add to it the fact that there is, by state statute, elections scheduled in June and again in November, and that the elections officials have timelines that they have to meet that extend, a ways earlier than the election date themselves, it gets really complicated. So the hearing on the 10th is a request for a temporary injunction, a preliminary injunction or a temporary restraining order to, as I understand it, I have not read the petition, but the brief is to ask the court to stay the implementation of the new map and to continue preparing for the elections under the old map. Where that goes, what the decision of the court's going to be, I have no way of knowing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Supervisor Gibson from the community or from the council? Okay, thank you so much, Supervisor Gibson. I think there's some items under Locac committee reports that we would love you to stay for if possible tonight.
Okay, yep, I'll stand by for the committee reports, but probably excuse myself after that.
Absolutely, thank you very much. CSD report, would that be you, Chris, tonight?
That's me.
Woohoo!
There's not a whole lot to report. I guess the one thing we did do is we signed a resolution to adopt, I think it's map C. We are also districting. I think it's really our preference to stay at large, but if we were to do that, we'd be subject to lawsuits, and we don't want to spend $30,000 on a lawsuit. We want it to go for water infrastructure. And that's just the main decision we made. I think I have a copy of it. I think we chose, looks like this. Oh, it's all blurry. Never mind. So I wish we'd had a bit more public come in to give their opinion, but I guess we got what we got. And hopefully we did a good job. And other than that, it's just kind of the normal accepting the committee reports. It wasn't a real eventful meeting.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris. Any questions for Chris? Any questions from the community? All right, you're off the hook. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
You're easy on me tonight. Thank you.
Yeah. Chamber of Commerce report. Lynette?
Hi, Los Osos Baywood Park Chamber did get some winners for Light Up Los Osos. I got the information kind of late in the day, so I can't really tell you who right now. And so we will be sending out a newsletter that does have that on there. If you're not on the newsletter, I do post it on our website. If you look under newsletters, look for the date for February and you will see who won. And that's pretty much it, unless anybody else has something. Jim or Tim?
Very quiet. We do have the chamber open, chamber office open from 11 to 2, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Okay, any questions for the chamber? Any questions from the community? All right, you're off the hook. Thank you guys so much. Next is public comment for items not on the agenda. This is limited to 3 minutes and we do not have discussion afterwards. The first person I told that I would call on is Jordan Chestnut. I wanted to see if she's here. If you could raise your hand. If not, we'll go to other community. She was going to talk about SLO County Arts Council. I don't see her on here at all. Okay, so let's go to Patrick.
Thank you. As Carrie mentioned, there's quite a few coastal development permits that are coming up before you right now. I would like to read a little bit from the staff recommendation to the Coastal Commission dealing with a guest house that we appealed just a short while back that would apply to all of the CDPs that are coming before you right now. And it says the San Luis Obispo County approved a coastal development permit that authorized the construction of a new guest house. After reviewing the local record, staff recommends that the commission find the appeal raises substantial LCP conformance issues. The LCP requires all development in the county to be served by an adequate and sustainable water supply and requires denial of proposed projects should such services not be available. The water availability has been degraded in Los Osos by seawater intrusion with high salinity levels and elevated nitrate contamination. The Los Osos groundwater basin, which is the sole source of water for the entire community and the source for this particular project, is still critically overdrafted beyond the safe yield. And the county did not analyze or evaluate how or why the project would be served by a sustainable water source as the LCP requires. Staff believes that the county's lack of such analysis in this case is alone enough to warrant the commission finding of substantial issue to explore such issues in this case. And while this project has proposed to mitigate its water demands by offsetting its anticipated water usage via a retrofitting program, there are multiple concerns with this approach, including that it does not address, nor is it consistent with other LCP requirements that allow a level of development commensurate with the safe yield groundwater extraction level. And because the efficiency and ability of retrofits to provide bona fide long-term water savings has not been borne out. The county did not evaluate such issues, presenting another reason for the commission to find a substantial issue in order to explore such issues as it is related to guest houses. And as I say, this is only for this one guest house, but it applies to all potential extra water use projects, which are going to be coming before you this evening. So that's all I'd like to say. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Anybody else in the community that has 3 minutes that they would like to discuss anything? If so, please raise your hand. Lindy? 3 minutes. And you have been asked to unmute.
Okay. I had just a couple of community issues that I have noticed. One is on Nextdoor, there are a lot of ongoing discussions about what condition our water basin is in, and a lot of frustration and anger. I would really hope that at some point, maybe I know Deborah is part of a group that's, inside of Locac. But we need to kind of make a stronger statement about what is known and what can be clearly stated in a community address, maybe in the Estero News or something, because I think what we're seeing, I've seen it for years, of course, but empty lots are going up for sale. They're being purchased by people who get bad information from the county as to what the possibilities in the near future are. We have a waiting list of development that nobody has been able to see, or I haven't gone to search for it, but there's hundreds of people on this list. It means that people buying a lot are at the bottom of the list if they even get on it. There's questions about if you have a project already prepared, you get to move up to the top of the list. I really think the whole community really needs a better forum to understand what the impact of allowing more growth here will have. And the other issue that I'm concerned about is the cutting of trees in Los Osos. I know that we are concerned about fire hazards and danger, but the random cutting of old growth trees is just really not beneficial to our community. We have lost so many trees to illness and other reasons, but because it's all in ministerial permits, we don't get to know. And that's why I hope that Carrie can put those forward so that we have information. Once a tree is cut, it's over. And the penalties are cheaper than the permit almost.
Your time is just about up. Is there anything else, Lindy? Sorry, we're trying to keep it to 3 minutes. We've got a big agenda.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go on, but those are my two concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else with public comment? Okay, let's go for approve the minutes for the meeting from November 18th and the email vote that we had on December 13th on the letter from the Active Transportation Committee. Can I have a motion?
Move approval.
Okay.
This is Jan Harper. I will second.
Jan made the motion and Jan second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, all in favor. Thank you. We are going to switch the committee reports a little bit. We're going to do the treasurer's report and then jump into Active Transportation Committee update because we've kept Joshua Roberts and Locac waiting for a long time tonight. So let's do the treasurer's report so we can jump into transportation. Deborah?
Sure, of course. Treasurer's report is short and sweet. We have spent no money. And so our balance is the same as it was back in November, $2,200.19. And I don't expect to have any expenses until we do our May outreach, which will be May 1st. And I don't know if we're talking about that tonight, but anyway, so we're going to have some stuff going on in May, but other than that, I don't anticipate any expenses coming up. That's my report.
Thank you very much. Okay, then we're going to jump.
Are we members of the chamber?
Yes, we are.
Thank you.
You bet we are. It was the first thing I paid, Jim.
Okay, Deborah, Active Transportation Committee update.
Yeah, let's just move right on. So we are so happy that Joshua Roberts and John Denuzio with Slocog. Joshua is with the SLO County Public Transportation group, and they're going to talk to us about a project that is slated to be done for the benefit of Baywood Elementary School on El Morro. So what I'd really like to do is have Joshua start off by explaining the project, what it is, what it entails, and then we can perhaps have a discussion, including John Denuzio, because Slocog is the one providing the funding, and he can explain how they work together with Public Works as far as funding these projects and the purpose of that. So let's just start there, and then we can, have a little discussion about this.
Josh. Okay, John, I asked you to unmute. And Joshua, you've been asked also.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Trish. Deborah, thanks for thank you very much for the introduction. Joshua Roberts, Transportation Division Manager, County of San Luis Obispo Public Works. Our division primarily oversees roadway operations and maintenance. Quick status report on the project and what the project is. As a part of the existing sidewalk on El Morro heading towards Bayview Elementary School, the county some years ago proposed to do a small project to install sidewalk between 8th and 9th Street on the north side of El Morro. That project has had a few false starts, largely due to staff shortages and other transportation project priorities. We're now back on track, scheduled to go out to bid on the project plans next month. And the target is to have the project substantially complete, which means it's installed, it's to the casual observer, it's done before school starts. We'll have paperwork and project closeout stuff to probably work on into the fall. But the idea is to have it ready and working before school starts this August. Some quick background on the project. It was really envisioned as a part of a request from or offering from Slocog at the time. They were providing approximately $100,000 max grants to do small community betterment projects like safe routes to school improvements. The county worked with Slocog, put in the grant application for the project. I think looking back, $100,000 was extremely optimistic for a sidewalk project. And even in 2017 dollars, definitely in 2022 dollars. Again, generously, Slocog has brought some additional funds to the table, and we combine those with some other community fund grant programs through Slocog for a total project budget of $210,000. That's actually still a very tight budget. Unfortunately, in the modern world that we live in, one block of sidewalk with curb, gutter, sidewalk, ADA improvements, the inspections that are required, the insurance, installing driveway ramps for the existing homes, obtaining the proper easements, et cetera, typically is running anywhere from $200,000 to $300,000 per block. It's just an unfortunate reality that we're having to deal with. That's a kind of a high level overview of the project, the status, where it came from. I think that there have previously been some questions about, large scale planning efforts and considerations of other locations and other projects. And the shorter answer is no. $100,000 unfortunately just doesn't go a long ways. So the county was looking for locations that were going to be easy to install, super straightforward, little overhead, places we don't have to acquire right of way or deal with environmental compliance issues. And this one block was really the only place to put those funds.
Okay. Trish, can we share screen so I can actually show a map of this area so everybody can see what it is we're talking about?
Yeah, so all you have to do, Deborah, is hit this share screen.
Okay.
Down below and then choose which way you're
here. Okay, here we go.
You're doing it.
So I'm going to get rid of all these little faces over here. And so you can see here is Baywood Elementary. There are sidewalks on El Moro. There's a sidewalk on 9th Street, and there is a sidewalk on Santa Maria. There is not a sidewalk. There is not a sidewalk here on 11th Street, adjacent to the school. But where this project would be going is here between 9th and 8th Street. And Joshua, here's the concern that I have addressed with my group at Active Transportation. The street here where the sidewalk is going is a little bit wider, but as you get to 8th Street, I'm just gonna, oops, not a very good driver here. As you get over here, you'll see that the street actually gets even more narrow. There's less room to, here's where they're walking now. There's less room to walk here. So here's the concern. Once you build this sidewalk, you've got children, not only elementary school children, but middle school children coming across from middle school who are getting dumped here at this crosswalk. There are no crosswalk hashes for them to cross. There is no place for them to walk here except for on a very narrow shoulder. And if they wanted to walk as they should walk against the traffic, if you're a pedestrian, they would have to cross this busy street with no crosswalk. So my question to you is, when you do and when you engineer this project, do you consider what happens after you finish that project in terms of, well, where are you ending up, leaving these pedestrians? They're kind of stranded here, in my opinion. So is that something that the engineers take into consideration when they're doing these projects? Do they look around? Do they say, oh, well, once this sidewalk is finished, now what happens? Because the real intention, and I think John Denuzio will speak to this from SLOCOG, the purpose of the sidewalk is to actually continue all the way down to the bay. Isn't that correct, John?
That is our the regional transportation plan vision. That is the goal, ultimate goal.
In other words, it makes sense because you have the El Moro Trail from middle school coming all the way to the bay, almost to the Baywood Elementary School. So you have a wonderful way for pedestrians and cyclists to get back and forth to those 2 points. But from the elementary school down to the bay, 3rd Street, 4th Street, there are no sidewalks, there are no safe places to walk. And here we're being provided a single sidewalk. And then what?
So to answer your question about the design of the sidewalk and where pedestrians are going to end up, yeah, absolutely. We are looking at, we don't want to impose an unsafe condition or something that's going to, create some sort of a new hazard. Getting people up off the street is obviously preference, but however, there's miles and miles and miles and miles and miles of road in Los Osos where folks, if they want to walk, they just have to walk on the shoulder.
That's true. In fact, I am one of those people that walks.
Yeah, and
And
so
I can tell you,
so to keep, what I think is important to keep in mind is that only due to the generosity of funding partners like Slocog, otherwise the county is 100% dependent on development, implementation of community plan guidance to put in pedestrian facilities. I did a presentation to the board back in February of 2021, kind of going over the roads maintenance budget. And based on current funding levels, we run about a $5 million annual shortfall in basic roads maintenance, which means there's $5 million of potholes that are not getting filled. So prioritizing brand new sidewalks over potholes it can be a difficult decision. And that's why we do so heavily rely on partners like John and his team over at Slocog to help fund these projects. It's a long-term strategy. And if it takes, implementing these things piecemeal, unfortunately, that's the way these kind of come together.
I understand. I really do. And it is an issue. It's always about funding when it comes down to this. This committee is dedicated to working with you at Public Works to make the best use of the money that we have available to us. I mean, I feel it's unfortunate at this point. I see that putting the sidewalk on 11th Street, which would have been a much better use of money, because in all honesty, as I pull away here, I'm going to get rid of these faces.
So, Deborah, I appreciate that. We have looked at that, and to be perfectly honest, there's zero access to the school from 11th Street. It serves as a significant off-street parking when they do have events at the school or in the field. So, a sidewalk along that section of 11th Street, while it would be kind of like a nice bookend around the school, it would frankly offset a lot of parking in that area, which is pretty disruptive to the neighborhood when there's school activities going on.
Okay, I think you make a good point.
Definitely not a preferred location for, as the grid continues to fill in, we can definitely see something along 11th Street, but just from a traffic operations and road safety perspective, we would recommend against installation of sidewalk as a priority at that location along 7th Street.
Okay, I think you make a good point, Joshua, and I appreciate you bringing that up. And I do often see cars parked here. I think they belong to the people who live in the homes across here, and they use this for extra parking. There is a transit stop here, so there would be a reason to actually have some sort of pavement there. But the reason I like it is because more people walk on Santa Maria than walk on El Moro. And if there is a way to get people safely to Santa Maria, and I'm talking about children now, coming over from middle school, and 11th Street being one of our collector streets, heavily trafficked, very fast paced traffic. But, they can walk down to 9th Street and cross over to Santa Maria. I'm just trying to say, I walk these streets. I know where people walk and where people cycle. And El Moro is not the best location for that because there's too much traffic. So what I want to do is work with you to develop a plan where we have the availability of pedestrians and cyclists to be where they're not with high traffic areas. And I think we can do that in Los Osos if we have good communication.
Sure, and just to point you in the right direction, I'm definitely a partner at the table at those conversations, but your main audience would be county planning and Slocog.
Okay. Yes, we're just getting started. This is a brand new committee. We're just getting going. One final thing I would ask you, and then I know, we have some people here from the community that might have questions, is that in our, the Los Osos community plan, and I think going as far back as 2007, there has always been a stipulation for things to be in character with the nature of Los Osos, which is not to be concrete curbs and gutters. We don't really like that sort of method of pedestrian pathway. And I'm curious to know why that was chosen for this project.
Why concrete curb and gutter were selected?
Yeah.
It's very straightforward, pretty simple. The safest way to separate, well, the safest way to separate pedestrians and vehicles is not have them on the same road. But if they have to be on the same road, vertical separation through curb and gutter is kind of the only way to go.
Right. But if you look at Los Osos Valley Road, you've done a pathway for pedestrians to the Monarch Grove School that was not sidewalks, curbs, and gutter in concrete. It was a curb with a blacktop sort of path that I'm just showing a comparison of a different approach that was used. And so as a general statement, I want to say that in Los Osos, we prefer not to have sidewalks, curbs, and gutters unless you're talking about in a business district like on Los Osos Valley Road. But within the community, we prefer to have something that's not of that look because it doesn't really fit in.
For safe routes to school, it's curb, gutter, sidewalk, or nothing. The class 1 path you're talking about on Los Osos Valley Road is a separated path. That's a completely different animal. And I don't think anything like that is planned for this area of town.
Well, on Santa Isabel, you have a DG path. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm just
I can't
saying
speak to the
that
history of that.
it's in our Los Osos community plan that we have a certain character that we want to maintain. And we have Santa Isabel has a DG path. We have a blacktop path on Los Osos Valley Road. So I just didn't quite understand why concrete.
Yeah. Los Osos is quite a patchwork, and it's the color of money, the funding source that comes in and how these things come together is a huge factor. Compliance with federal safe routes to school standards is another factor for us. And we're, unfortunately, we're kind of beholden to the standards of the time, which in this case is, standard 6-foot curb, gutter, and sidewalk.
Okay.
I'm sorry to hear that you're unhappy with what's being planned. I would advocate that from a cost benefit perspective, this will actually be one of our less costly sidewalk projects. So that's some good news. The extension of the existing sidewalk along El Moro and the eventuality that we can get down to the bay is, I think, having things headed in the right direction. And we would certainly entertain, other recommendations for improvements along 11th Street.
Is there a possibility that a class 2 bike path could be put in from 8th Street down to 4th Street that would allow a little more room for children to walk? It is actually on the bicycle plan for there to be a bike path there.
I don't have the bikeways plan right in front of me. So anytime that the county goes out and we've recently done this in Oceano when we did our pavement management project, where there was areas that were designated for marked bike lanes that didn't have bike lanes, we would install those.
So that it's a possibility?
As long as there's no widening required. Any kind of road widening is considered a betterment. And again, the county does not receive funds for betterment projects like that. So if widening was required to install a bike path, it's basically the same as a sidewalk. We're dependent on outside money. We're just dependent on fronting property owners in widening the street to accommodate that.
Is it possible for you to put crosswalks here at 8th Street where the sidewalk will end? Here, so there could be some striping here so that there could be some crossing, safer crossing. Perhaps there's a stop sign, but the stop sign is only on 8th Street. There's no stop sign, obviously, on El Moro. And
This is Jan. I really appreciate your concern about all this, Deborah, but I'd really like to hear from Mr. Denuzio. And I know that we wrote a letter to them, to the county on this. I mean, there's a lot of options for all of Los Osos. I mean, if you're trying to get the monies shifted, I'd really work within your committee and not here at our meeting. I'd like to hear from Mr. Denuzio.
Yeah, actually, John, you can speak to that about shifting money because you and I have talked about that already.
Okay, you want to take down the map right now, Deborah, and then
I'd be happy to.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Hi, good evening. John D'Annunzio. I'm Locac staff. I work in the programming and project delivery division of the San Luis Obispo Council of Governments. So our mission is to establish effective transportation throughout the region and improve the quality of life. We're keepers of the regional transportation plan. So every 4 years, it's kind of like a local community improvement plan, but for the region. In fact, if you go to our website, slowcog.org/engage, there is a section where we collect comments from committees, individuals that then get reviewed for the regional transportation plan. This was how this mechanism was used to include the proposed trail along Los Osos from the community center to Monarch Grove, for example, a few years ago. Also, we have the regional active transportation plan. So at slowcogatp.org, there is a regional transportation plan. One program within that plan has been the Safe Routes to School Capital Infrastructure Program, which Public Works, SLO County, and Josh Roberts' team applied for. It has been a competitive process. We've done 3 cycles of that funding. So this particular project competed against City of Arroyo Grande, City of Paso, and the scores of this particular project, the merits of it, beat out some other applications. Because of that, it then kind of begs the question that if this project were to be to stall out, or if for some reason Public Works needed to pull out of it, or couldn't deliver it, or for whatever reasons, there's so many reasons that projects fall over. This project is not falling over, thankfully. But the money, any remaining money, the money that was spent would have to be returned to us, and the remaining money then would go back into the regional pot, which is shared by City of Pismo and Arroyo Grande, the 7 cities, and elsewhere. And so in that way, it sort of keeps the competition fair and keeps programs moving forward and deliverability accountable. So that's a little bit how the genesis of this project and application was submitted in 2016, as you know, and then in 2017 again for additional money. So now we're seeing delivery of that project. So I guess I had the benefit, right, Deborah, of coming to your subcommittee a week ago, and I'm really glad I did, because I got a sense to sort of spend a little bit more time about where the subcommittee was and where you're trying to go. And some of the suggestions that I had for the committee then, I'll also share again now. I also am an evaluator for the statewide active transportation program. And in going through that process and looking at applications from other communities around the state, I really have seen the importance of community engagement and promotion and letters from schools or school kids that have gotten involved, or teachers that have gone out with the class and, put chalk on pavements and, perhaps like some sort of pop-up example and photography over a long period of time. And that type of, once you get all the technical parts of the application done, that type of community engagement and the types of things that you're doing by having the subcommittee and this meeting now are really the types of things that will help us build the case and help either this project or other projects like it, or a package of projects like it, rise to the top, because these funds are this type of funding is competitive. So with that in mind, SLOCOG is also going to be going out and holding another call for projects this summer. We call it the Safe Routes to School Infrastructure Program, which funded this, is no more. We will now be consolidating other bits of money and having a community betterments program, or Safe Streets for All type of program. And there is approximately $7.5 million region-wide, which the cities like City of Paso, City of Atascadero, City of Morro Bay, and SLO County Public Works can compete for. So our suggestion and hope would be that that Locac, the committee, subcommittee, or as a group would organize itself as you are, and continue to communicate to Public Works or planning as well the priorities that are in the Los Osos community plan, and or packages of that, and communicate that to them, so that when their staff comes around to make applications to us, that that you are all prepared to present, either a shelf-ready project or a series of projects that could be incubated and moved forward.
Thank you, John. We realize that if we say no to this project, we lose it. We don't want to lose it. We just want to shine a light on it for the community, so that people know what's going to happen, what it's going to look like, why it looks the way it does. And if there are some safety concerns, which I think I pointed out to you, that we might address those, and perhaps think about, well, how can we keep this going all the way down to the bay? Because that's really the intention, was for that to, am I right, John? It was to go all the way down. The concept is for it to continue all the way down to 3rd Street. So there would actually be a path for bikes and pedestrians to get all the way down to 3rd Street at the minimum. So this is where we're at. The community aspect of it is critically important. And I think we have people from the community here. So Trish, you can open it up for questions.
If there is anyone from the community or from the council who has a question for Deborah, Joshua, or John, please raise your hand. And let's keep it brief, like a minute or minute questions. Okay. Lindy? Lindy, you're on.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, you are.
Oh, I'm sorry. I really like Deborah's point and appreciate the work that's gone forward to get one block done. But I really think that the example that has best suits Los Osos is the Santa Isabel DG walkway with the rope. It gives a little bit of visual division, probably slows vehicles down a little bit. So I kind of think nobody wants to turn down a free block of sidewalk, But it does, I really think the idea would be if $200,000 could go to get 2 blocks done with DG and the ropes following the Santa Isabel. That was a huge project that took years, but I would propose that you consider that Los Osos does need a different approach, and I don't know how that can work. That's my comment.
Thank you, Lindy. Okay, any questions from council community? Nope. Okay, thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Joshua, and thank you, John.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you coming.
Thank you, Trish. Thanks, Deborah. Thanks, Locac folks.
Bye.
All right, let's go to land use. Larry Bender.
We had a busy meeting at land use. I'm going to be talking about a lot of the projects that came to us. They're on the agenda, and so we'll cover it at that time.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Traffic and circulation, Jan.
Yeah, this is Jan. Nothing has been brought to my attention. So again, my voice would say, if you notice something in the street, pothole, erosion, whatever, please give the County Public Works a call at 781-5252. If you notice parked vehicles, stuff like that, you need to call the sheriff. And if you constantly notice or chronically notice at a certain time of day speeding, you call the CHP. And so those are the 3 numbers you probably want to put in your cell phone, so you have those. So when you notice them, because they're not out here cruising the streets just watching what's happening, you're the one that's going to see what's happening in the early mornings, what's happening at lunchtime, or commute home time and stuff like that. So they need to hear from us to know what we're talking about. And if they hear constantly the same thing, they're going to start paying attention to it. So you just keep calling. That's my report. And if something does come up, we will have a meeting. Thank you. And
thank you, Jan. Trees and landscaping, Yael.
Yeah, hi. So I will have a very brief report because our main project, the El Moro bicycle and pedestrian trail, is still on, but it's still on kind of a back burner because of the approval of the plan and the HCP as well. But what we've been doing is reaching out to more agencies so that to gather support and interest. So we've reached out to our district selected Park and Rec Commissioner, Pandora, and we're still waiting to hear back from her. And we've reached out to the Park and Rec Committee of CSD. And waiting, we know that they're interested, and we also have discussed to develop more collaborative and engaging relationship with CSD. So because we think that we have several interests in common, of course. And then we still have a small project which is a follow-up to the community center trees planting that we did just before the pandemic started. We have several trees that were not successful, and what you call her? She's responsible for the park. Her name is Laska. She's the ranger. She's the chief ranger in the area. She's willing to work with us and asked us to develop another program, adapt a project, which is a contract. And we'll do that to replace a few trees there. And so that will be probably one of the earliest projects that we'll be able to succeed in doing. But the committee is really wanting to continue, and I'll keep working with them. And hopefully we'll have James, he doesn't know, but he will chair the committee, hopefully. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Yael. I'm not sure if Sandra, I know she's traveling, can speak on outreach. know she's here.
Hi, yeah, thanks. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, so outreach, just the newsletter's going out. We are going to be planning a town hall sort of event on May 1st at the Red Barn. And we wanted to make this a collaborative event. So we're inviting other organizations that serve Los Osos residents to be there. I believe it'll be the South Bay Women's Network, Los Osos Cares, Basin Management Committee, and there'll be time for all, as well as all of the committees of Locac on there. And then it'll also be an opportunity for anybody that's running for Locac, because the election is going to be in May, to be there and share, you know, why they want to be on Locac, for the community to get to know them. So that's what we have planned on May 1st in the afternoon. And Supervisor Gibson will be there as well, just to get the word out about Locac and connect with the community.
Sounds great. Any questions for Sandra?
I have a comment.
Okay.
So this is going to be a great event. We're excited about our outreach event on May 1st, and we've invited public health to come and do a presentation on safety for pedestrians and cyclists. They'll be providing helmets and showing how to safely walk streets. We're possibly even going to have what's called a bicycle rodeo in the parking lot, where there'll be certain obstacles. And so we'll make it a really fun, very active event with a real focus on public health and public safety. So it's a great opportunity for us to get our message out there about active transportation.
Right. Perfect. Any other comments, questions for Sandra? No? Okay. Thank you so much. Last committee, Deborah, Ad Hoc Water Committee.
Wow, again? Okay, here I am. So there was not a Basin Management Committee meeting in January. There was one in December. So I'm briefly going to go over that. The Basin Management has added 7 wells into their monitoring program. Transducers were placed in 3 purveyor wells and 4 county wells. The BMC staff and the BMC party staff have formed a funding and organizational working group to identify and evaluate potential future funding and organization structures for the BMC and implementation of the Basin Plan. This would be consistent with the Basin Plan. This working group is identifying and evaluating funding and organizational structures that will provide long-term mechanism for funding the BMC administration and Basin Plan implementation costs, and that allocate costs equitably amongst all who benefit from the basin's water resources. Right now, the people who mainly pay are the people who are customers of the 3 water purveyors. And so they're looking at ways that they could perhaps spread out that cost. They're coming up with some sort of strategy. I don't know what it would be. The BMC has approved a proposal from a company called SCI Consulting Group to provide updated funding options, analysis, and assessment evaluation. The effort has been initiated and updates will be provided at future meetings of the BMC. Title 19, that's the retrofit to build program. The county has hired a consultant to update the retrofit to build program. The contract is to update the retrofit to build program for Los Osos to incorporate significant changes in water consumption patterns since the water offset program was adopted in 2008, and incorporate new water conservation measures to expand the capacity of the program to offset new development. So we don't know what those new offsets will be. I don't even know who this person is or company is that's been hired, but I believe and perhaps Supervisor Gibson can add something to that. But anyway, we should see something happening here on the retrofit soon. The current estimated average water use per person in Los Osos is pegged at 40 gallons per day. It's been the same since 2019. And that's my report.
Okay. Supervisor Gibson, do you have any update on that also?
Well, nothing. I mean, I think Deborah covered it well, and all. Just to frame properly what we're doing about the retrofit ordinances, we're not necessarily coming up with new retrofits. What we're doing is asking the consultant to study the retrofit ordinance, and that as I'm sure you well know, the concept there is you replace certain plumbing fixtures within a house or install new systems within a house. We just need to confirm by studies of one sort or another what the actual water savings of doing a certain replacement or addition of equipment is. And so the concept doesn't change. The amount of credit given for switching from one sort of fixture to another might change probably slightly, if at all. And so it's really just a matter of solidifying our understanding of how much water is saved by changing a particular kind of fixture. And again, I think the important thing to understand about retrofit programs is they operate on an average basis. We have to look at this in a what we would call in one of my previous lives an ensemble average of what's the average behavior of a household, what's the average size of a household, and we get what the average water savings of a particular action is in the aggregate. So that's the idea. It's rather central to a piece of our planning to be able to, if we are able to permit certain land uses that require extra water, we need, and if we're going to base those approvals on water saved by retrofit, we just need to be sure that the numbers work out.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Gibson. Any questions for Deborah on the ad hoc water committee?
Deborah, I have one question. That figure you got of water usage per person of 40 gallons, where did that come from? When I was at a CSD meeting, the number was much higher.
Yes, thank you.
That actually came from the minutes from the Basin Management Committee. That's the figure that they're using. So almost everything I gave you today is what came out of the December meeting minutes for that. It came out of that meeting. So
okay, I will question there where they got the number from, because when I was at the CSD meeting, they had a totally different number. But thank you, Deborah.
What was their number?
70.
60 something, almost close to 70 gallons per day per person.
Okay. And when was that number? When did they calculate that number? Because it might be.
I was at that meeting maybe a year ago, and they said that's been the ongoing average. That it's very, very hard for me to believe 40 gallons a day per person.
Well, I
But
think
that's
the
my
40
own
gallons,
opinion.
if I'm not mistaken, and probably Supervisor Gibson knows better than I, but I believe the 40 gallons came about when there was a great deal of conservation that happened. And that's when that number dropped considerably. So that's been
But
my
it's gone up.
understanding.
It's gone up since then.
If I might, Madam Chair,
Yes.
without actually looking at the source of any of these numbers being quoted, I can't tell for sure. but my pretty educated guess is that 40 gallons per capita per day is the indoor water use, and that is actually a consequence of the sewer project, which has a condition that we are targeting to drive it down below 50 gallons per capita per day. That was accomplished by a massive retrofit of any house that connects with the sewer had to be retrofit. So my guess is 40 gallons per capita today is indoor water use. Outdoor water use would add another 50% or so, given that the traditional balance has been 70% indoor use and 30% outdoor use. So you could imagine on that basis that the total use per capita per day would be about 60 gallons per person.
Okay. Thank you,
Makes
Bruce.
sense. Thank you. We have a public member with a comment, Kurt Mammon. You'll have to help me with your last name. And I asked you to unmute, please.
Yes, thank you. Kurt Mammon. Just a
Mammon.
quick question. I'm a little confused with going forward on a retrofit program. At the same time, it seems like the board, the Locac, has not approving any projects that need new water. So what would be the point of a retrofit program if you're not planning to approve new water use?
I think I can answer that. We are not saying that we will not approve projects in the future. What we are trying to do is wait until we hear what the Coastal Commission geologist says about our water, what the BMC is saying is going on with our water, and having the consultant finish their project with Title 19 retrofit. As soon as we can get those 3 items, we can go ahead and go back and look at all of these projects for approval. And so this is going to be a temporary, it's not a permanent, but we have 3 different pots of groups that are looking at our water right now. And we're just trying to get something that will tell us scientifically what is going on.
I see. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I think that is it. Thank you very much, Deborah. Let's go to the consent agenda with Larry.
Yeah, we had 2 items on the consent agenda. One was adding of 300 feet of living area and a new deck. Cheney, I think, is the name on it. And we put that on the consent agenda. No new water use or anything, so there's no issue there. And the second one was the Belnick. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's just changing, remodeling a house. Again, no new water use. So we thought that was should be on the consent agenda. I guess I'm asking for approval of the consent agenda.
I will move that we approve.
Can I
I'll
have a
second
second?
that.
Agenda, yeah.
Okay. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, it is unanimous. Thank you very much.
And then moving on to the next,
Yeah, the only thing I want to say is that, with what Kurt Mammon mentioned, is that on September 23rd of last year, Locac voted and wrote a letter reflecting our concerns with the water sustainability. Locac is supporting our water purveyors at this time, and hopefully this will be very temporary, and then we can go ahead and start approving these projects in the future. Okay. All right, Larry, you're up.
Okay, and then on the regular agenda here, I had some items. The Mayman project, and again, it all looked okay. They're local folks that live here and stuff. But again, it added to the water use, so we're kind of like withholding any recommendation on this project until we've determined or figured out, where our water's going, whether there's enough or not. So I don't know if.
So I think for the committee's sake, I would love to hear these projects come forward with Locac so that we understand them, so that when we do figure out what's going on with the water, we will be able to rehear these and approve them. I just wanted to bring that out. Is that an agreement with this committee? Jim?
You need to unmute him.
I'm trying. There you are. Asked to unmute.
Got it.
Yeah, why do we need to hear them twice? We're going to rehear them another time. Why do we hear them again? If we're going to rehear them when the mystery is resolved, let's hear them then.
But I also, this is just coming from me. This is just our opinion going forward. The county, they can still go to the county and go and move forward. So it would be nice for us to hear what the project is in case we have a large concern over one aspect of the project. And then we can put a comment on that, on our, whatever the big concern would be.
Okay.
Is that all right? Okay. Okay, so sorry, Larry, you're back.
Okay, so if Mr. Manman would like to just describe his project at least, so we have it for the record. Kurt?
Okay.
Oh, he's got his hand up, yeah.
Have I been recognized by the chair?
Yes, you have.
Yes.
All right, yes, thank you. Yeah, I presented the project to the Land Use Committee. Be happy to discuss it again. It's a 1,900 square foot home on a 1/3 acre lot in the Bayview Heights area. It's a lot that we purchased in 2006, and we immediately put a Golden State water meter on it that's been active ever since. We purchased or paid for, I don't know how you look at it, a Title 19 water certificate in 2014 that offset 900 gallons of water. We're estimated to use 250 gallons, I think is the estimate for our project. We use quite a bit less than that as a family, but I understand that other people could own the house at some point in time. We have the HCP with the federal government. We have the ITP, we have everything. We've offset the water use already. We've paid for it. So we're not waiting for your new program to start up again or to be reactivated. Looking through the Los Osos community plan that was approved by the Board of Supervisors in December of 2020, and I think is before the Coastal Commission. There's a lot of good numbers in there. There's been a lot of good work done by the Basin Committee. It seems like some of the numbers are being argued at this point in time. We listened to the presentation by the Ad Hoc Water Committee in your October meeting by, I believe that was James Bishop, that indicated there hasn't really been, the only change in water use since 1975 is that since 2010, there's been a slight improvement in water levels since 2010, otherwise flat since 1975. And that recently some numbers are going in the right direction. Too soon to call it a trend. But it would seem like when you're a government agency that has a lot of different things that you have to balance, water certainly being one of them. And another thing is just a vibrant local community. And we have builders in this area whose livelihoods depend on building. We probably will have a sustained low growth rate going forward in the future would be the anticipation of the Basin Plan as I see it. It seems abrupt to just suddenly turn the spigot off projects that are basically shovel ready and have done everything right years ago regarding water. It's concerning. Now, I understand you're an advisory committee and that you don't make policy. and that can go forward with the county as is. But it would be nice to have my community's backing. You know, we've lived here for a long time. Our children are born here, raised here, would like to live here in the future. It's frustrating to have done so much work over so much time to have my community basically say, stop. So for what it's worth, the problem, there's a cup of water, 8 ounces, right? I can pour that into a glass and it doesn't even fill the glass. That's how much water I'm asking for per household. If you assume there are 4,000 houses in Los Osos, and I believe there are more than that actually, but that 8 ounces times 4,000 is the amount of water that I would be taking out of the basin per day. If every household saved that much water, we're good, right? Oh wait, I've saved more than that. I've saved 4 times that much with my Title 19 water certificates for the last 7 years, right? I've paid the money, I've done the work. I'm a member of this community. I'm concerned about the basin like all of you are concerned about the basin. And if we're in overdraft right now, we are in overdraft whether I build my house or not. And we're gonna have to solve that problem somehow. And I would be one more household that would be contributing to the global solution to being in overdraft. If we're not in overdraft, then you're stopping me from proceeding for no good reason. Right, we have a plan to have in the Los Osos community plan that's before the Coastal Commission that has a reduced growth rate compared to the rest of the county, that has monitoring in place that will adjust the growth rates if the basin in the future shows overdraft. We're going to reduce that growth rate. If it shows that there's sufficient water, we'll increase the growth rate. We have a pretty enviable position here, where we are watching closely. We have people like you who I appreciate. I appreciate the work that you're doing and the concern that you're taking about our water basin. But it seems to me to be so black and white about decisions in such a short term for such a marginal drop in the proverbial drop in the bucket amount of water, short-sighted. So I would hope that the project that was heard by the Land Use Committee, where they said the project had merit, there are no issues there. It's all per the regulations of the county. It's a modest home compared to the homes in Bayview Heights. I've been paying more in property taxes on that lot than all of my neighbors pay on their houses that are larger than the one I want to build, because they've owned their houses for so long. I've been contributing money to the county in the form of taxes. I've been contributing to the water basin by Title 19 retrofits for the last 7 years. I've done thousands of dollars worth of work to get to the point to be ready to build a project. I just retired last June with the idea of being an owner builder. And this was going to be my project in retirement, was to build a house that we wanted to build in 2006, but were unable to afford to do it. Here we are. That, I guess all I have to say, if you had any questions about the project in particular, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in Bayview Heights, I'd be happy to answer them.
Are there any questions from the council or from the community? Lynette?
Yes, I have a comment. It's not really a question. I would just say, first of all, to the applicant here that we are advisory only, and I know as much as you would like us to approve this, I don't know what will happen with the vote, but we are advisory only, so don't take it too much to heart. My second point is, since these things come before Locac, we sort of take the attitude, oh, one more house, that's just terrible. And that's because we don't have the opportunity to go after, oh, like a rental house where, you know, 10 kids cram into 3 bedrooms, or we can't diss on a family that has like 4 or 5 kids. So we kind of pick on these people with trying to build a new house. And I feel like when you compare the number of new houses that have come before us, and it's not like 100 houses in some subdivision or something, it's a house here and there, and they have you know, obviously we have a lot tonight because we haven't met for a couple months, but I just feel like this is a drop in the bucket compared to the other uses that we don't even look at or say anything about. And it just seems unfair to these applicants that we only pick on them. We're not picking on, you know, people with lots of kids or students crammed into a house. So that's really kind of my opinion on this. And I just feel like it's unfair to these applicants. And since the county has its rules and we should follow the rules, and until the Basin Management Committee does something concrete, I just kind of, I don't know, I don't agree with saying no to these projects. That's my opinion.
Thank you. All right, I think let's do council members first. The next one is Yael.
Yeah, I would like to just report that Land Use Committee is going to look at how to go forward, how to strategize what we are going to do. So we have a lot to take in, and I think your comment, Kurt, are very valuable. I'm not, for me, it's some of it is black and white and some of it is not. I think that there is a room for a per case basis because there are homes that are very modest and have been worked on like yours for years and years that I would tend to sympathize with more than others. But in the same time, we live, I mean, the whole area of Baywood is under de facto moratorium for an older reason. It's the sewer, but we all are in a very risky situation with the water. So if we have to be under moratorium because of the water issues, then I think that everybody has to be under the same moratorium, because otherwise the basin will not get healthier in rapid enough way. And in addition, I also impressed with your example of the water, and I think that, and I will suggest it when we discuss it in land use, that we will encourage people and really push for water preservation, because we heard 60 gallons. I mean, in our household, and I don't know how, we are only like 28 gallons per person. And I'm sure that part of it is because outside water, we collect rainwater. So we don't have any usage. We don't use any water for our very large yard at all from the household water. So that's probably helps. So maybe that's one way to push forward, water preservation is to collect rainwater. But we are aware of the issues and we are going to discuss them. So don't give up on your house yet. But I think that this is a responsibility that the committee feels that it has to discuss further.
All right, Sue, you would be next.
Okay, thank you. And also I'd like to say that we're put in sort of a bad position because we hear that we have a very serious water situation. And I know the report that James gave was kind of like from La La Land out so different from everything else we've heard for the past 6 months, from the BMC, from the water purveyors, from the Coastal Commission. They're all saying that we do not have a sustainable water supply. Now we're waiting for some numbers, but until that comes, we have to make a statement to the county. And yes, you are only one person with your 8-ounce glass of water, but after you, we have another family with 5 bathrooms and a swimming pool. And then after that, we have another one with a detached garage and a guest house. I'm sorry. I mean, you just keep coming. At what point do we draw the line? And we have to tell the county, we have to let them know that we are concerned about their water. I think you heard what Bruce Gibson, our supervisor, was talking about when he was talking about unincorporated areas of the county. We have no say, we have no power, we have no help, we've got nothing. And so people don't take us seriously. We have to fight back and we have to convince them that we have a water issue right now that has not been proven to be sustainable. And we have to let them know that we care. We've got people in the community, right and left, screaming at us for passing through houses because we don't know what our water situation is going to be. So please understand, we are advisory and we are choosing to withhold a recommendation at this time because we want to make sure we have enough water to go forward before we start giving it away. And Yael brought up a really, really good point, is that people have been on the waiting list for something like 30 years to try to build a house, but yet people can come up here and buy lots. So there's a lot of issues that come up with the whole building thing in general. And I think there's been looking at why not make everybody not be able to build instead of just the people down on the numbered street. So, you know, I'm just babbling now, so I can't get in, but please understand, we're just trying to tell the county we're concerned, and please accept our apologies for that.
Okay, Lindy, quickly.
Okay, I've heard you deeply, Kurt, and I understand what frustration you're having, but with not having our approval. The point of what we're trying to say is not that we don't approve of a project if we had a sustainable basin. Or not accepting, not approving is based on, we cannot approve of any new development that uses any amount of water. The other point I wanted to make is you are a good person, as so many people are, but there are abusers. And whether it's by need that 10 people live in a house because of poverty, or it's because people that don't care about water use have multiple wastes of water, we don't have any control after the permit's issued how much water that property takes. It might be a condition to put on every new development to say, we get to look at your water reports, and if you use 10 times more than you said you were going to use, you're going to pay a penalty. We do need a lot of things to work out, and that's all I wanted to say. And I do appreciate your project. I think it would be just fine. I just wish we had the water to say, go ahead, no problem. So thanks.
Okay, Kurt, any last?
Yes, thank you. I respond to a few things. I appreciate everyone's thoughtfulness, and I would like to say my understanding, I was reading the handbook for what we call local advisory committees from the county. They had a handbook that describes what the purpose of them is and what they're supposed to do. And it says in there, quote, the council makes its recommendations based on the wishes of the community. However, these recommendations must be within the context of federal, state, and local laws and regulations. And we have existing local laws and regulations that allow me to build a house. And I follow the rules and regulations as they're written. And if we look forward to what the current Los Osos community plan says for the future that hasn't yet been approved or accepted, or whatever the right terminology is, by the Coastal Commission, that would suggest that exempt projects for the next 3 years should be built. And then there was something in there about a 1.3% growth rate over the next 5 years while the basin is monitored, and permits would be issued more or less depending on the state of the basin. We don't know exactly what the state of the basin is. You can't say that we're in overdraft. We may be, or we may not be. The report by James, I believe, was not a consensus, but a consolidation of a lot of information over a long period of time. It's the same kind of information I've been seeing and hearing. And I know there are people in the community that are in fact worried, but there is also a lot of evidence that maybe it's not quite as dire as we think.
No.
I don't know who's talking.
Lindy said, talking to her dog. You can.
I thought she was commenting on what I was saying.
Bad dogs.
No, I'm so sorry.
Just talking about dogs.
Dogs. Yeah, we all do.
I feel better. Anyway, it would seem to me if to use an individual member of the community, a citizen who you represent, to use my project, to use me, to use my family as a way to speak to the county does not feel like the purpose of a local advisory committee. The local advisory committee is supposed to look at these projects from within the law and the regulations and make sure that it's conforming to the community standards and isn't doing something rude to a neighbor, and is concerned about what's going on with the trees on the property, if there are any, and those types of things. But to use our project and projects like mine that you might be hearing tonight and other nights as a way to send a message to the county, I don't know. I think our county's been listening. I've talked to Bruce Gibson myself a couple of years ago, and we removed a ADU from our project, which took another year and a half for me to redesign the house because he said he couldn't support an ADU in the Bayview Heights area because it was outside the sewer area. And I didn't want to create a contentious project or use water that wasn't going to be supported by my own supervisor. He said I might prevail even with the conservative leaning of the county. Even if he did object to my project, I might be able to prevail anyway. I didn't proceed with that project. I took that out. I removed bathrooms, I removed bedrooms. Even though I probably could have, evidently, if I'd done it then, I probably could have gotten it, right? But I was trying to be a good community member. I was trying to pay attention to my community, my basin. And I would hope that you would have, even though I know you're just an advisory group, using me to send a message to the county feels wrong. So I just want to register that belief.
Thank you very much. All right, Deborah has to unmute.
Kurt, very well spoken. Your project sounds like one that's more than reasonable, in my opinion. I have 2 points I want to make. Actually, I have a point and a question. My first point is, if you recall at our last meeting when James did his excellent presentation, the basin yield number had been changed, and they had always allowed for a 20% buffer just for this reason, to make sure that we didn't cross that line into unsustainability. We're a little bit encroaching into that 20% buffer zone, and that sent alarms into the BMC, and that caused them to sort of reevaluate their position on some of the things that they are doing to try to correct that. So there's some safety measures put into this management system, this oversight of the basin. We're not the wild, wild west out here where people just grabbing water willy-nilly. And so I want to remind you of that, number one, but I also want to ask this question. The land use made this decision to not approve any projects that use any more water as a protest to the county, to say, county, we need you to pay attention. That's my understanding. My question is this working?
I don't think so.
Is this strategy working
I
for
don't
the county?
I don't think so. The advice I've gotten from the county is that you're advisory and that the project can go forward. And the real game is at the Coastal Commission with the Los Osos community plan. And it's going to come down to what the Coastal Commission says. And
Correct.
I don't know what they're going to say. It would seem to me if you wanted to condition projects based on approval of the Los Osos community plan, that would allow projects to go forward with the support of the community, with the input from the Locac, and still have a condition on it that this future event, which should be happening sometime in the next few months. I think I might have heard tonight that it's going to be heard in February, but I might have missed that.
Yes.
That's the important meeting for all of us, right? As you mentioned, the sustainable yield of the basin is an estimate. That's why there's the 80% rule, is because we don't know exactly what the yield is. So if we make our best judgment about what it is and then only go to 80%, we have some buffer to absorb some mistake. Now, I would think people that have in good faith paid tens of thousands of dollars for water retrofit in the past for the right to build, that's not something you should be stopping. You could stop future sales of retrofit certificates, but to retroactively say no to people that have already obtained that, it is almost like a taking, it feels like. Now, I don't think the county is going to do that. It's possible the Coastal Commission will shut me down, but I don't see what you're doing here as really impacting that Coastal Commission decision. I mean, I think you probably should be presenting as advocates for the community for what you believe is right there. And I assume they would listen to what you have to say. And there's going to be a lot of more thought by a lot more people about this. I just have a house. It's a project in Bayview Heights. It has neighbors. There's no trees on my property, so there's no tree issues. You know, I've dealt with the snails with the federal government, right? I assume the purpose of the Planning Commission subcommittee and this body is to make sure that the projects going forward in Los Osos are good projects for Los Osos within the laws and regulations of the county and the state of California. And the water issue is being heard by the right people. It's going to the Coastal Commission. It's an important issue. I'm not sure what they'll say about existing retrofit certificates. It's completely possible they would allow those things to be honored, but no new ones or something like that. We don't know exactly how that's going to come out.
Okay, we do need to move on. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Sue, just very quick.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, is it time? Can I make a motion?
Yes, please.
I'd like to make a motion that land use committee made. It was not an avenging motion or aggressive motion. I forget what you called it. It was a show of concern as we voted to withhold the recommendation. So the motion is, following the action taken by Locac, the land use committee, we will not make a recommendation on this project until the water concerns of the Basin Management Committee, the CSD, the Coastal Commission staff, and our water purveyors have been resolved. Although the project has merits and the applicant is doing everything the county has asked of them, added water at this time is very questionable and we will not support it.
Okay, can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed?
Me.
Yeah,
Lynette and Deborah
and Jim.
and Jim. Okay,
Yeah, and I'm going to abstain. I abstained at land use.
and abstain pretty much means no by our bylaws.
No, it's no for this particular project.
Okay, so the matter that we all signed this letter saying that we were going to not, at this time, we're just withholding a recommendation. We're not saying yes, we're not saying no, we're just saying we're withholding a recommendation.
Withholding it.
We signed a letter saying that we would support that. So
Yep.
I'm just really concerned why we even signed the letter if we're not going to uphold it.
Yep.
Let me just
we did.
address that, Sue, if I may, Trish, answer that. Because I question if the strategy is working, that's why. I was in favor of sending the letter. I thought that was important and good, but now I wonder if it's really served its purpose and if it's really, if it's working.
It's our first month. It's our first month.
My concern,
Well,
and I stated it, and I think that we have to go through the process, and I definitely support moratorium on new buildings. But this is not, it's almost like it's not new. It's a really old project. I don't think we can see all project in the same way. So that's where my concern and my inner voice tells me this is different. And that's why I'm not supporting the non-recommendation. And you know that I'm all for a total moratorium. As long as we need the moratorium, it has to be across the board. But this is an old project, and I, with all due, ethically, I cannot, not allow it.
All right, that vote has been done.
So
Okay.
I don't know, who is for it? I mean, who is for the motion, who is against? I have,
Against is Jim, Lynette, Yael, and Deborah. The
Okay.
rest were.
yes,
were-
for. Okay, thank you.
So what was the result? What was the
I-
numbers?
It would be 6-4, 6-4 and 4 against.
Okay.
All
Thank,
right.
thank you, Kurt.
The
The next project.
Project has been withdrawn. Perel?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. The next project, Mary Ann Welton. And Tim had to leave, so asked to unmute.
This is Mary Ann. Can you hear me?
Yes.
You reviewed our project last year and unanimously and enthusiastically supported it. At that time, we were in escrow and trying to decide whether we should go ahead with the purchase. Based on the information that we received at this meeting, we went ahead and bought it. Now you're saying that you don't want to approve any new developments. So that has an impact on us. We are not longtime members of the community. We would be new members of the community. We have children that live in the area. We want to retire there. And your actions are going to have a big impact on us. I can describe the project for you if it makes any difference. I'm wondering if it
Yes.
does.
It does. We would like
Okay.
to hear what the project is.
Okay, so it is a 4-bedroom, 3-bedroom house, 4-bedroom, 3-bath house. It's on a half-acre site. Half of it is dedicated open space. It's an environmentally sensitive design. I work for an architect. My husband's a contractor. It's an all-electric house. It has PV panels. It would have a gray water system, a rainwater collection system, low water use fixtures and landscaping, a tier 2 sewage system. Stormwater is all managed on site, and it would be mostly native landscaping. It has a giant pygmy oak grove on it that takes up, it's about 85 feet across, and we intend to preserve that. Are there any questions?
So you have is it a 2-story house plus a guest house still? Is that?
No, it's not a guest house. It's just a 4-bedroom house. It does not have a
Okay.
guest house.
Okay, thank you. I always love looking at your project plan. All right, any questions? Deborah, you have your hand up.
We should be supporting a project like this, in my opinion. This is exactly the kind of project we want to have in our community. And so this is, for me, along the lines of what Yael was saying, a matter of discernment. So, okay, we decided to say black, white, yes, no to water as a protest. That was my understanding of why we sent the letter. Okay, now that's done. Now let's get serious and start discerning between projects that have merit and projects that do not have merit. And that's what I feel is the purpose of this committee. And it's difficult. I understand that. But I just think that's our responsibility. I really do. I'm not on the land use committee, so, you know, I have to, my hat, for a reason, because it's so hard. But I just honestly feel like the project, as it was just described to me, is exactly the kind of project we want to have in this community. This is what we want to support in this community, and to withhold, let's be clear, us withholding our approval does not mean that this project won't go forward. We know that. But what it is withholding our support of this project. And I think this is a project that should be supported. And I think Kurt's projects should be supported. Because that's the kind of community we want to build here. That's just my opinion.
And Ms. Welton, on your paperwork, you said that you'll be using 350 gallons of water a day. Is that still correct?
No, we have reduced that to 150 gallons a day by incorporating the gray water system and the rainwater collection system. And because of the type of landscape that we've selected, the minimal landscape that we've selected.
Okay. Any other quick questions, concerns from community or from Locac? Can I have a motion?
Could I say one more thing?
Sure.
This is Marianne. I just wanted to say that I enthusiastically endorse all of Kurt's comments about water use and this process. I won't go into repeating them.
Okay. We have Patrick. I am going to ask you to unmute.
Thank you. I'd like to agree with Deborah that this is the kind of project that we really would like to have here in Los Osos, if and when we have a sustainable water supply. And I think it's a cop-out by saying that, you know, we don't know what condition the basin is in. We know the basin is in severe overdraft. We have seawater intrusion coming in, and any extra little bit of water that we are using is not going to be helping our basin. So I would really like this committee to support the letter that they all agreed on. And just your decision one way or another is not going to make any difference. It's going to go to Coastal Commission. And I read a lot about what Coastal Commission said about our water supply earlier this evening. We do not have a sustainable water supply right now for the residents that live here at this point. So I would hope you would deny all of these projects that use extra water. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have a motion, please, on this project? There's not a, wait, I have Lindy, sorry.
Okay.
Okay, Lindy, I've asked you to unmute.
Okay, I would like to change the direction of the proposal to suggest that we support these projects, but our concern of water has to say that we cannot give full support because of water only. What we're missing is that the projects are fine if we had a good base.
That is what the motion says, Lindy, already.
It's not clear enough. Okay, thanks.
It does. It's okay. All right. Any other comments?
Was there a motion made?
I'm trying to get a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we hold any recommendation until the water issues are brought, are known.
Okay. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Okay, opposed? Raise your hand.
I'll abstain again, and I know I'm.
That means no.
Yeah, okay.
So Yael, Lynette, Deborah, how did you vote?
No.
Okay. So the no's are Yael, Deborah, and Lynette. Tim left the meeting, so he's not voting on the last two.
So yes are Sue, Trish, Larry. So we would have 3 no's and 3 yeses.
What about Jan? Jan is.
Oh, Jan, we have 4 yeses and 3 no's.
Okay, all right. Next one is Callaway. And I know your last name is different, so if you could raise your hand, I will call on you. Oh, there you are. There you go. Thank you. All right,
Hello.
going to explain the project.
Yeah, I mean, a lot has already been said that probably doesn't need to be repeated, but I guess I would like to start with the fact that people like us trying to establish a home, in our case, you know, I'm nearly 50 years old. This would be the first home that I own in California. I've worked my entire life, and prices, you know, 6 years ago, I could have afforded a house that no longer exists. This is a serious challenge. We have a 4 and a 7-year-old child, and we were outbid on multiple homes before we went this route. Our project is designed for both ourselves and to provide an intergenerational family for my parents. My dad is nearly 90. I have no idea how long he will live, but these are really serious issues that affect people who have, you know, I've born and raised in California. So the thing that really feels wrong about this is that when you buy a piece of property, there are rules and regulations that we research. We spent almost a year doing our due diligence. It was the longest escrow that our realtor had ever done. Many of you probably know her in this community, and I think she's worked here for almost 40 years. So we did our due diligence with the county, with Fish and Wildlife, with everybody that would talk to us. And we went line by line, and until we had our incidental take permit, till our habitat conservation plan, we would not close on this property. You know, a little bit about this one. This is an infill lot. I believe it's actually next door to Kurt Mammon's property. I'm not sure, but I think so. There are no oaks or manzanitas on this property. There was an MUP previously approved for a 1,200 square foot larger home than we were proposing. The lot was connected to water by the previous owner and was being used to irrigate some habitat. In order to get the HCP, we made a 3.82 permanent conservation easement of natural native land in order to have the right to even build. That's permanent and irrevocable at this point. So we research through every aspect that we can what is required by a community to build. And then we follow all those rules. And even if it's only advisory, to come to a meeting like this, I can't even describe the gut punch that it feels like to us. Like I said, this would be the first home we own after almost 50 years of working. I work in wind energy. I started my career literally washing wind turbines by hand. And we have young children, even though we're not young ourselves. And it honestly makes me feel like I don't want to be part of this community. I fell in love with Los Osos. We lived in Slow first. We came here. We literally fell in love with the beautiful, you know, dirt streets, everything about it. We have followed everything that was told to us was required to build. We're outside of the prohibition zone. And even if the county approves this project after you reject it, I just really want to emphasize how much it hurts to have us follow the rules and then just to be told that, well, the rules don't apply because this small group of people feels that another issue takes larger precedence. Now, I understand that water is a very serious issue, and we're willing to do anything to our project to make it in line with whatever we can do. I mean, we will do anything.
Could we ask a few questions on the project?
Sure. And I just want to say, yeah, feel free.
I think the questions I have are how many bathrooms, what is the size of the swimming pool you're putting in, and the size of the spa, and how much
We've
water?
already asked for the swimming pool to be removed. As soon as we heard that the water was an issue, we immediately we said that in the land use committee right then, last month or earlier this month. We also have, for our children, my wife wanted a bathroom for each child. We're happy to take one of those out. You know, it doesn't increase or decrease the actual water use, but currently there is a bedroom for ourselves, one for each of our children, so that's 3, and then a bathroom for my parents. It's not an ADU, but it's kind of like a little bit of a wing of the house.
Okay, thank you.
And I just wanted to, like, the last point I wanted to make is that the rules and regulations are the way the community communicates to us what we're allowed to do. And then it's our responsibility to follow that. And we literally spent our life savings, everything that we've saved for our entire lives. And I would just hope that the committee consider the fact that if you need to change the rules, if you need to change the regulations, do that. We support you, but we wouldn't have bought this property. Like I said, we got outbid on multiple houses, even when we were the highest bidder, because we weren't an all cash offer. We got owner financing on this lot. It was advertised as ready to build. Of course it wasn't, but that's why we went through almost a year of due diligence. So if we need to change the rules, do that, because that's how people like us could avoid making literally the biggest financial mistake of our lives. And it's serious. There are people who, you know, we have children. We wouldn't have done this. We would not have bought this property if we had known that it would not be supported. And I'm happy to answer any questions about the property as well.
Right.
I see
JP
that
and
you
Elena, Carol and I are also here to help present the project.
Yeah,
if there are any questions for us.
We would like an opportunity to do that on behalf of our client. And of course, thank you, dear client, for those sentiments, but we would like to just run through a quick PowerPoint to provide some background for you, if you don't mind. So thank you, Chair, I appreciate that. And thank you, dear client. Good evening, Chair Bartle and council members. I am Carol Florence. I'm a principal planner with Oasis Associates located in San Luis Obispo, representing the applicant this evening for 286 San Leandro Court. I'm here this evening with the project architect, Thomas Esser of Vellum Design Build. By way of professional history, I just want to tell you, which spans about 30 plus years of a career, we have had and still have many, many clients in Los Osos who are very familiar with the regulatory complexities that influence your community. And I only mention this because we have a deep understanding of the community's trials and tribulations and appreciate your perpetual desire to create a livable and a sustainable community. So I want to thank you all for your patience and your continued concern for and involvement in your community, as it has been no small feat over these years. This evening, we'd like to present the project and ask that you focus on the project details, while the Land Use Committee and Council have specific concerns about water resources. We hope that you can separate those concerns from your purview this evening. Before handing the presentation over to TJ, I just want to underscore that the project is in compliance with the standing policies, the regulatory framework and codes, and therefore hopefully worthy of your positive recommendation. So I'll come back to you midway here, but I'm going to hand this over to TJ now. Thank you.
Good evening. You guys, some of you saw the project during the land use committee hearing, but I just wanted to reiterate that, you know, some details about the home and the size and things like that. Anyway, the information should be in your design packet that
it is.
All right. But, you know, the project also does a number of things, like it conforms to a 15-foot height limit, which preserves a lot of open views for the surrounding neighbors. And we're actually 4.5 feet below the height limit. And we were able to do that by pushing the house down So it's a single level from the street view, and then it tapers down into the rear yard where it grows to second story. So where we could have gone up, we went down because it's a good thing to do to neighbors and just respect views. We also are well within our side yard setbacks and rear yard setback, again, giving open space, more of the land back to open space. And we focus on the design of the home on all four sides, trying to create four-sided architecture with materials and textures that kind of emulate landscape features of the community. A lot of earth tone and natural materials on the siding of the home, so it fits in well to the community. Of course, dark sky fixtures, PV panels, a lot of sustainable things like EV charging, exceeding Tile 24 requirements, low water landscape, water sense fixtures, and as JP had mentioned, the dedication of over 3.5 acres to land as open space. In the past, this project did receive a minor use permit, as well as support from the Coastal Commission and actually support from this agency as well. So I just wanted to mention that. We have an active MSS permit for snails, and yeah, turning it back over to Carol here.
Wait, I'm sorry, I can't get to my participants because of your screen here. All right. Let's keep this, I mean, we've all received this, so let's keep this very brief. I mean, we're going on to almost 10 o'clock, so.
And we appreciate that, Chair. I just think it's important.
And we have all read our packet, so we have read this.
Yeah, I just think it's important that we provide this information to you so that you have all of this to make an informed decision. So I'll just go quickly through this. We've spoken this evening quite a bit about water, but to date, Title 19 is still the law, and it allows retrofit for projects, with the bottom line being no net increase in community water use. The tract is within 2 tracts, the Martin tract as well as Cabrillo Estates, that are allowed to have septic systems and expected to have those. So wastewater, we're going to check that box. As TJ mentioned, there was a recordation of an open space and conservation easement, which is quite sizable, that has been recorded on the site. I think that is an important aspect. And perhaps TJ, if you go to the next slide, I can talk about habitat biology and ESHA altogether, because I think this is a good representation. It obviously shows the project in the context of the conservation easement that was placed, and it was mitigation for the 2 buildable areas that you see. Our project obviously is the 0.46 acres. And when we're talking about Moore Shoulder Band snail, while the community HCP habitat conservation plan is soon to be in the implementation phase, as you well know, each individual project had to perform their own HCP, and this particular project has a take permit, if you will, that was recently updated and will be in effect until 2024. And then finally, the proposed development was also analyzed, like as most projects in your community, for environmentally sensitive habitat, and it was found not to have the criteria for that. So I just want to thank you for your patience tonight. I appreciate the speakers ahead of us expressing their sentiments about their projects and the process itself. I appreciate my clients' sentiments as well. And I will let TJ finish quickly this PowerPoint, and
like 1 minute, please.
Yep.
Just
absolutely. Just want to show you what the project looked like if you hadn't seen it. From the street view, this is the view. We're 4.5 feet below the height limit. from the back. It nestles into the hillside. It pushes into the hill. And so again, just after reviewing the permit application and the information that was presented this evening, we ask that you offer your support for the project as proposed and recognize that it meets the current requirements outlined by all county ordinances. We thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, any questions from council? Sue?
Yeah, just two quick things. They're not our rules, they're county rules. We have no effect over changing county rules. All we can do is to stand up for ourselves and tell them what our needs are. And I wish people would listen, because we are not rejecting your proposal or anybody's proposal. We are simply withholding a recommendation, an approval or a denial. It doesn't matter. We are withholding a recommendation until we know that there is enough water to continue to give away. So please accept those words. We're not denying your project. We are just talking about withholding a recommendation. Those are the words in the motion. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else from council? All right, let's go to Patrick. Ask to unmute.
Thank you. I just want to again make a statement that it isn't the Locac, it's not the sustainability group, it's not even the county that is going to decide the fate of any of these projects. It's going to be the Coastal Commission. And doing your diligence means you look at our water issues, you talk to the Coastal Commission because they have jurisdiction over the coastal zone, and you find out if the Coastal Commission is permitting allowable building. Even if the county promotes it or pushes it through, are they going to permit it? And if you have read any of the staff reports, no, they are not. And they do not buy into Title 19. So regardless of what the county is doing, Coastal Commission does not buy into that. They are not approving these projects. That's what due diligence is all about. Thank you.
Okay, next is Eve, and then we'll go to Elena.
Okay, I would just like to support what Patrick just said. That was exactly what I was thinking, that as a Los Osos resident, I'm grateful that the California Coastal Commission will depend on the science and the engineering relevant to our groundwater basin sustainability, and will not make a decision based on the personal expectations and expenditures of private landowners in Los Osos. And I think, thank goodness, and I agree that what Patrick said is that it's going to be a long time, first of all, before they consider the community plan. And I also feel that based on the interpretation that I see and how I read the staff reports, that it's quite likely that they're going to give us a very dire prediction about the future of our groundwater, even for the people who already live here. Thank you.
All right. Elena?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that next door to this project, there's a 6,000 square foot house getting built right now. Adjacent to the house at 2599 San Domenico, a house was just completed. Up the street, there was another one. We were seeing projects get approved based on the rules. And I just, hope that whatever happens here, that the focus is on changing the rules, because it really does impact people's lives if they make decisions based on the rules and then a different set of criteria are applied. Thank you for hearing this.
Thank you. We agree. Can I get a motion? Sue?
Yeah, I'll just make a motion that we withhold the recommendation until we know what's going on with our, we know that we have the sustainable water supply.
Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor of the motion?
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Don't count Lindy.
No,
Sorry,
okay.
Lindy, I'm calling you.
We have Jan, Larry, Sue, Trish, Deborah, and Yael.
And Jan.
And Jan, yeah. Jan, Larry,
Opposed?
Sue, Trish, Deborah, Yael. Opposed would
Opposed?
be Lynette.
Okay. And Jan already voted. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Let's go to Michael Tabaris. Sorry, it's just me left. I have Mike's iPad. Is that correct? Mike's iPad. Let me try it this way. I don't know how to get you on an iPad. I'm just going to make you co-host for a minute. Go ahead. Mike, iPad, can you?
I don't see a microphone there.
I know, I don't either. I even tried making him a co-host. I merge with audio. Okay, I'm going to try to merge you.
Okay, now he's got a mic. Oh, no, he's got a phone. It says,
Yeah, I just added him a phone.
oh, okay.
Ask to unmute. I don't know how. I mean, I've done everything I know how to do, but it's an iPad, not a.
His video came on
Yep,
somewhere. There's Mike. I see him.
I see him. I know. And I've made him a co-host. Oh, here, wait.
Something happened.
I almost got it. No. Ask to unmute. Okay. Ask to unmute. I honestly, I don't know what to do, guys.
Oh, let me see, Mike McClure, is Mike McClure still here? I think he's their builder. He's the builder.
Yeah, I know. I've looked for his name also. He's not here. Anyone have suggestions?
Well, Mike, hold up your right hand and wave if you can hear us.
I think they're trying to figure it out.
Because we can always just postpone him until the next meeting, or I mean, or we could just.
I'm asking him to unmute.
Uh-huh.
And I have like 4 or 5 times, and I made him even a co-host so it would be easier.
I think they have audio issue because the video.
Yeah. Yeah. I tried it on his picture. I tried it on here.
Do we have one more? Let's get a bit more. Is he the last one?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Mike, I don't know what to do if you can hear us.
Maybe he can call in at least, like
Yeah.
Larry
Call
does.
him on the phone.
We don't seem to be getting any response from him.
All right, let's put him on hold. Maybe he can call in if you can hear us. Oh, Dave and Bev say to suggest to Mike that he quit and sign in again. That might work. In the meantime, while we see if Mike can get his iPad to work, just wanted to let everybody know that elections, we do have Sandra and Yael who won't be running this coming year. So
this is Jan. I won't be running for re-election either.
Okay, Sandra.
Oh, there he is, Mike. Mike Tapp. Unmute him.
Where?
Is there another mic?
No, I got.
Yeah.
Okay, ask to unmute. Mike?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Sorry, went to a different computer. So we'll make it short. It's getting awfully late and I got to get up at 5 in the morning to go to work. So I would just really like to have your guys' support for the recommendation. And like I had mentioned last time, I'm not changing water consumption. I'm not adding water consumption to my guest house. I'm actually might save a little bit of water because I'm taking away 438 square feet of landscaping that's in my backyard. It's where the guest house is going to be.
And can a lot of the people on Locac are not on land use. Can you just, I know you told us in land use that this was going to be for your college age daughter. Who's
Correct.
going to be coming back to Los Osos. Any other details you can tell the larger Locac group?
Just that, the guest houses to support her, being there's, no affordable housing in town anymore. So she's probably going to have to stay with us until she can start her career when she comes back from school and stay in the guest house to try to give her space and get us some space, myself and my wife. And it's 438 square feet. It's not going to have a full kitchen. It'll have a sink. And the bathroom's going to be the only bathroom it's adding, but we're not going to be using the master bathroom in our house anymore because that's the one that she uses when she's here. So that bathroom that I have in the house probably won't even be used anymore. It's just going to be used down in the guest house now.
Okay. Any questions from council? Please raise your hand. Okay. Any questions from, Deborah, I saw that you were muted somehow. Here, asked to unmute.
How many bathrooms do you have now, Mike?
We have
in your
two.
house?
Well, it's 1.5.
Okay.
So one full bath and a half bath, is that what you're saying?
Correct.
And so this would be a bathroom in the guest house.
Yes.
It's a 3/4 bath shower kind of thing.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and like I said before, this isn't for any kind of monetary gains or anything like that. It's strictly to try to house my daughter, and once in a while some family members may decide to come up and that they'd stay in the guest house for the weekend at the most.
Okay.
I've already talked, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, I've talked with Golden State Water, Mike Babb, the project superintendent, and he told me he would never issue me a water will serve letter if the water consumption was changing to my house or if they didn't think he had adequate water to supply me for that guest house. And I also discussed this with Mr. Munns from the Los Osos Community Service District, the manager, And he just, he had a different take on the water issues with everything. And I just explained to both of them, I'm not adding water use to my guest house. I think that's something that the Coastal Commission said in their article. If you're adding water to any project, that they were going to probably, deny that. And I'm not adding water.
Mhm. Correct. Correct. Okay. Any other questions from the community? Patrick, is it?
Short and sweet.
Thank you. And I do remember Mike from the Land Use Committee, and I really liked his project. And this is the kind of thing that really is too bad. There are a lot of people with guest houses that abuse what the guest house is. And I know Mike's not going to be one of those things. The Coastal Commission, and neither actually were many of the guest houses that we appealed. But the Coastal Commission made some determinations on there. And as it says in the LCP, the county has to show that there is water available for new development. And this would be considered new development. I know that Mike says that he's not going to use any more water. I believe that, but the Coastal Commission says new development, the LCP, county has to show there is water. And the county can't show there's water because we just don't have it. So again, this is going to have to get appealed if it goes through, and it's not going to be your fault, my fault, the county's fault. It's the Coastal Commission that makes the decisions. And I hope at some point Mike's able to get this done when we have sustainable water, which we do not at this point. Thank you.
All right, can I get a motion?
I guess.
Sue.
Again, and basically say this is not a denial. This is just, we will not make a recommendation. We're withholding recommendation on your project until the water concerns have been resolved. We know you're a good risk and that you're doing everything asked of you, but at this time, the water use is very questionable and we won't support. We can't recommend a support of the project at this time.
Okay, can I get a second?
This is Jan, I'll second.
Thank you, Jan. All in favor, raise your hand or raise your computer hand. 3, 4, okay. Opposed?
Lynette, Yael, and Deborah.
Anyone else that we don't see?
I don't think so.
Tim is not on and Sandra is not on.
What about Jim?
Jim seems to be gone as well.
Jim has been gone for a while.
Past 9 o'clock.
Okay. So are we 3-3?
No, that would make it 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-3.
Without Tim, Sandra, or
Oh
Jan?
no, 4-3. Jan, Larry, Trish, and me. I got Jan twice. Sorry. I cheated.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I hope we get this resolved with the water very soon so that all of these projects can go forward quickly.
Yeah.
Very quickly. Thank you, Michael, for being on tonight, and so sorry you have to get up at 5 in the morning.
That's all right. Because I work for the county, so I'm serving the public. I'm good with that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, so election announcements. We do need a chair for the election committee. Anyone willing to volunteer? You cannot be running or.
This is Jan, I'll volunteer.
Thank you, Jan.
Thank you, Jan.
I'll be looking for support from people though.
I will be there to help, and I have all of the election materials in my garage.
And I'll help you out, Jan.
Good, I know. I'm just wanted to say that to be crystal clear.
Crystal clear.
Okay. All right, so we have Sandra, Yael, and Jan who won't be running coming in May. So we have a few people that we can
So
get
this is Jen. I just want to make sure that people within Locac, if you know somebody in District 2 that would be good and be interested, be sure to talk them up.
Yep. And then when Jan has her first meeting, which we need to do by February, yeah, by the first or second week in February, let's come up with a date on when elections will be, okay?
Sounds good. Now, do I need to get a couple other people to help me, or do I need to get some public people?
You need the board. I mean, Sue said she would help. I will help for sure.
Oh, okay.
You got the two of us.
And it would be great if we could have a couple public people, Jan, if you
Yeah.
know somebody.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Okay.
Same with you guys, or same with anybody on Locac, if you know somebody that would like to participate.
Except if you're running, you can't participate.
Right.
Correct. Okay, anything else that we need to discuss tonight? All right, we are adjourned at 10:06.
A good meeting. I mean, difficult one.
Hard meeting.
Hard meeting. But you did, you ran it well.
I wanted to approve all of them. Except
Well,
for
I
the
think,
swimming pool.
I think that we have to learn to adapt that to the process. I think we really,
I agree.
not as simple as black and white.
I agree. I think that's next thing on land use is that we reevaluate what we're doing.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks, guys.
Sure.
you.
Bye.
Bye.